Hello again, everybody. This is, let's make sure my mic is working here. It looks like it is. Hello. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Looks good. Let's leave it there. I'm going to move my mic a little bit because I'm going to be facing in a different direction. So, okay. How's everybody doing this Wednesday morning? Thank you for coming and checking out our Wargaming Wednesday. We do this, every Wednesday between 11 and 1-ish. It's a live stream. You can chat with me, talk with me, ask me questions, tell me how you do it. And basically what I do is I kind of, sometimes I'll work on projects on the table where you get to see what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. Other times we'll just sit and shoot the shit and we'll talk about politics or history or science fiction videos or whatever. Yeah, so this is my basically my connection with my community from YouTube, and basically just lets you interact with me on a one-to-one. Also, it just lets you chill if you're like at work, at lunch or whatever. It gives you something to kill the time while I'm working on a project. Okay, I've got a couple of things going on in the house right now. You might hear my wife in the background. If you do, just kind of tune it out, ignore it. She's a college professor, and she once a week she'll get online. Normally she has her door closed, but right now her door is open. But she'll get online and she'll talk with her students, if you know, interact with them kind of the way I'm doing now, letting them ask her questions about their work progress and stuff like that. So if you hear any of that in the background, just kind of ignore it. I don't know if you will hear it. It's on the other side of the house. I hear it because I think she's yelling. Okay, so got a couple of things I want to work on today. I also have, I might need to take a short break before we get started. I might put it back on the title screen just so that, because I think I have to go use the bathroom. I've got something outside drying right now. I've got these buildings we're going to talk about. We got these river pieces. There's another one underneath there. We're going to talk about my basing of different things. We're going to talk about the way the rivers match up with that river. And then we're going to build one of these buildings, and I'm going to build this perpetual calendar. So give me about 5 minutes, and then I'll be right back. So we're just going to take a real quick short break. Checking my volume again. Yep, looks good. All right, guys, welcome back. I just had to go, relieve myself. You guys probably have to do that from time to time, so you understand. I just thought I could get away with starting the show, and then all of a sudden it just hit me. So, things like that happen. Take my medicine. There we go. That tea is probably my favorite tea. Just so you know, it's called Celestial Apple. I don't know. It's not apple cinnamon. It's apple spice or something like that, but it's really good. Over the last couple of months, I've been cycling through different brands of tea to see which ones I like. I used to like, top of my list was Lipton Apple Cinnamon. And then I said, let's try this Celestial brand. I don't know anything about them. Nice. Okay. I got so much stuff on the table here that it's a little bit, okay, I'm a little bit scatterbrained, but I also have a couple of things on these boxes over here that I want to talk about as well. Now, just for you guys that are joining us, thank you. I appreciate you guys coming out and checking the stream out. Everything that I think, now I could be wrong, everything I talk about today, I will do a bespoke video about each of these topics over the next week or so. But with Christmas coming up this Saturday, I don't know, maybe I won't, maybe I will. I'm a little bit behind on some of my commissions, so I really need to get working on those. I don't really want to talk about my commissions or show off my commissions and stuff like that while during these videos, during these Wargaming Wednesdays. Wargaming Wednesday is kind of reserved for me, you, the community, my projects, what I'm working on personally, and the commissions. That's a private thing between me and my clients. Now, will I show you my commissions and show you what I'm doing? Sure. I might even make a special video about it or something. But on Wargaming Wednesday, that's really not what it's about. That's what I'm thinking. So I moved the commission that I'm doing right now over on the table over there out of the way, so it's out of our way. Okay, let's start. So I can start getting some things out of the way here. I want to talk about War Bases. Okay, War Bases is a company out of the UK. From what I can tell, based on what I'm looking at here, bases, get it? Based on what I'm looking at here, they look like they're really good quality products. I also got some miniature bases, probably the wrong scale because my mind between, okay, we'll get into that in just a minute, but there's going to be a scale change. Okay, so I made a bunch of rivers, right, for my wargaming table. And you can see these are really wide. These rivers are extremely wide, mainly because I cut them the same width as my roads, right? This is what I cut my road as. And then I put like 1 millimeter on this side and not 1 millimeter, 1 centimeter on both sides with flock. And the road was the entire 40 millimeters in the center. And I got lazy. I'm going to have to just admit it. I got lazy and said, okay, I got a bunch of these strips and I cut my roads out. And then I said, okay, I got these leftover strips that I had that I said, I'll just make them into rivers, right? I said, okay, so we'll make these into rivers. Well, they look good. And once I start putting like vegetation and stuff like that on there, they're going to look great sitting on the table, right? And your troops, you know, can even sit on the river base, you know, and they're only about a base width, you know, the rivers, that is. These rivers are great. They're 100%. They're good. Could I have gotten away with, and this is after getting these in, it got my mind working. Could I have gotten away with only making the river as wide as I needed it? Maybe the river plus another centimeter, right? Probably cutting a centimeter off of both sides. I probably still could. I could take a saw and cut it, but I'm not going to do that. Would that work? Would the rivers be okay that way? I think they would. I think they'd be fine. This might be just a little bit extra, too much extra bank. But I even considered, and this is where the laziness came in. I knew I was going to do curved rivers like you see here, but I was planning on taking this wood here, and knowing that it's wide, and I knew I was going to put curves, I was just going to cut out like chunks from the wood where the curve was, and then make the wood kind of curve with the river. That was the initial plan, and then I got lazy and just said, I'll just make the river and make it straight and just ignore it. Okay. So then I said, okay, well, I got to make some curves, and you can see on this one how I've got a slope. So two rivers matching up together, there would be a gradual turn there. You know, it would gradually turn, and maybe another one would make another gradual turn. But when I went to war bases, I went there specifically with the plan of ordering buildings, 10mm buildings, and I saw that they had these river pieces, right? And specifically this one, specifically this Y piece, because I need this in Quatre Bras. We got this going off the, what is that, east side of the map, and then this going up to the lake, and then this one going down, you know, beside the French starting line or whatever. And looking at this on their website, I thought this was going to be very large. Because I just assumed that this was going to be 8 inches across, right? And 8 by 11 or whatever. I just assumed that. I didn't realize it was only 14 centimeters by 16 centimeters. I didn't realize that it was going to be so small. So I ordered it, right? Thinking it's going to be, so I don't have to make one of these for this. And then when I got it in, I was like, oh my gosh, look how small that is. If I was to take my rivers, okay, if I was to take my river and match it up with this, you can see that there's about 1 centimeter off of each side, each bank. Yep, that's maybe just a little bit under 1 centimeter, but it's pretty much the width that I wanted my rivers to be anyway, if that makes sense. Okay. So I thought, okay, well, I can still use this. I could just do what I did with this, you know, just right down the center, and it'll still match up with these rivers. It's just that this little end piece there and this little end piece there will overlap or stick out a little bit. Am I happy with that? I don't know if I'm happy with that. You know, the rivers, I could make them rivers. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is the width that I want. So I could take, and this is another thing I could do. I could take some of these rivers, figure out which one is actually going to be matched up with this, and then I could cut just little corners out of this so that these actually match up pretty good. You know, they go up and then boop, you know, they just match up perfectly. That's probably what I'm going to do, but I'm not sure. And then also these curves, right? These are like 45 degrees, I think is what they call them. Yep, 45-degree bends. Same width. These guys match up with these guys quite perfectly, right? Do they match up with these? Of course they don't, because we already know that they don't. So these would be great for rivers. I could just put river texture over the entire thing, and then once it's all dry, come back and just put a bank on the sides, and I would be good. Now, these are, I think they said these are 2mm MDF, and I thought this was 2mm MDF, but it looks like it's probably 3mm. This might be 3mm MDF, where this is 2mm MDF. I'm liking these curves quite a bit. Okay, but now here's another problem. On this 3mm MDF, I had to bevel the edges, right? Because figure bases would just be all crazy on them. Do I really need to bevel the edges on these? Probably not, you know? Or if I do, I could just do a very gentle bevel just to give it a little bit of a slope, so it wouldn't take away from any of the real estate that I've got there. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. That got my mind thinking. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. So I said to myself, Mr. Everything, if my second project was going to be, let's get this out of the way. This is going to be one of the last things I do. It's this perpetual calendar. It sits on your table, and apparently you've got years and months and days, and as you turn the knob, I don't know how it works. That was a gift at a Christmas party for my wife, and she wants me to put it together, so I'll probably put it together on camera. Okay, so before we get any of that, next topic, flexible rivers and roads. So I've been thinking I want to experiment with flexible roads and rivers. I heard that one of the best ways to do flexible rivers is to use sheets of magnets. Okay. Which is weird, but I had a sheet of magnets from Litco because I made some large magnet bases. You can't really see my hands, but I made these large magnet bases for like pike phalanx and stuff, and then I would take basically for things like Hail Caesar, but I wanted to use SPQR miniatures for my Hail Caesar games, so I magnetized my SPQR bases, and then I said, okay, in Hail Caesar you got to put them in blocks of units, so I created these large blocks that I could put my individual pikemen on there, and that works okay, but I wasn't satisfied, but I had a sheet of that. And then I realized, I went back, and after seeing these rivers, I went and looked at my magnet sheet, and I was like, that could work. That could really work for a flexible road and river system. So I said to myself, let's order some magnet sheets. Okay. Got these in a couple of days ago. Have not opened it. Okay. These are 8x10s, right? Okay, trash. This is an 8x10. And I was thinking to myself, I was thinking 40 millimeter roads, right? But now that I'm kind of changing my scale, and we'll talk about that here in a bit, I might decide. And when I made those hard roads 60 millimeters wide, and then left 10 millimeters per side for flock, leaving a 40 millimeter road. For some reason, I just think that is too big for my epics. Those roads are just too big. I think I want to make them 40 millimeters wide with flock on both sides, but just say the whole thing is the road. It'll look smaller. The bases will overlap and sit on the flock on the roads, and I'm okay with that. I'm very okay with that. Maybe a 30 millimeter road. Okay, that's almost empty. Yeah, maybe a 30 millimeter road. And my rivers, I made about 20 millimeters wide. Okay, and so I thought, okay, let me just turn this over because it's easier to see on the other side. There we go. So if I made some roads 40 millimeters wide, even if I went 50 and just gave it a little extra, right? 50 millimeters wide, I could probably, and I'm not going to go all the way to the end, I could probably get 1, 2, 3, at least 3, maybe 4 roads, and then rivers are going to be thinner, so I definitely should be able to get 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Should easily be able to get 4, and if I want to make my road straight, that's fine. If I wanted to put a bend in the rivers, I could do that. It would probably just cause me to lose a river. So instead of 4 across, I probably could only get 3 if I put a serious bend on there. So I'm thinking 3 flexible rivers, 10 inches long, is pretty good, right? So going from one end of my table 9 feet to the other end of my table is 108. That's 108 inches, right? So at 10 inches, that's only 10 sheets, or 10 sheets if I just laid them out across the table, right? This pack, first of all, comes with 15 sheets. So that's good. And then I'm going to be able to make each of these sheets into 3 or 4 roads. So if I could go across my table with roads at least 3 times, maybe 4 if I did my math. So, but I don't want them all to be roads. I want some to be roads, some to be rivers. Okay, so let's open this up. How do you open this up? Okay. Now the reason why I went with this this pack of magnets here instead of going to Litco and ordering them, This one pack equates to the same cost that a Litco pack costs. Okay, it looks like there we go. Okay, this thing wants to be, they put the sticker right over the, there we go, right over the fold for some crazy, okay. I'm getting even more happy as we go. Each one of these magnets looks like it's individually wrapped in its own thing. That's pretty cool. That's showing up. That's pretty good. Now they come with this blue on the back. Well, that's actually a peel and stick. So you would peel it off and stick like a photograph or something like that. You would cut it to size, and then you would have it on your refrigerator or whatever. We're obviously not. I am going to peel it, but I'm not going to stick it on anything. That's where I'm going to put my terrain. So like my texturing and all that will go onto that paper. Now, okay, that's shiny, but I don't care about the bottom. And this, okay, I don't really care. But my point is, it's a flexible sheet, and it seems to be like it's going to be durable. And I'm going to lay it on the table, plop, and I could just leave that blue and just flock the sides. No, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to leave this on, but I just want to kind of see how sticky it is. And okay, it's not super unmanageable. Like, you could put a photograph on there and then take it off again. Okay. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut these, and then I'm going to put an acrylic latex coat on top of the sticky part, and then from there I'm going to flock it. I got some brown acrylic latex, might even be in that box over there. Give me a second. Be right back. It is not. Okay. So I've got some brown acrylic latex that I'm going to coat the road. I'm going to coat every tile, the rivers and the roads, with this brown acrylic latex, and then I'm going to model into the latex the ruts for the roads and stuff like that. And then later, if I wanted to, I could always highlight or whatever I wanted to do with it. And then on the banks, I'll put my static grass. So then you'll have the, I might even put some grit down on the road. I'm not sure how I want to do that. I might do that. I don't think I want to, like I did on the rivers and the roads, I put AK or Vallejo ground texture along the edges, because I knew it was not flexible. And because it is not flexible, the AK or the Vallejo ground texture would be fine. But on a flexible river or a flexible road, you know, that can bend, you know, in various ways, you don't want that rigid ground material on there, because it would just crack and peel or break or whatever. But luckily, my Elmer's, or my PVA, is flexible. It's kind of rubbery when it dries, and so the flock will stay on the edges with PVA, no problem. The only thing that I'm really concerned, and the roads I'm not concerned with, because with the brown Alex, or acrylic latex, with the brown acrylic latex, I'm not really concerned about the roads that are going to be flexible if they're going to crack or peel or anything, because I don't think that's going to happen. Even the packaging says something like 40% more flexible, whatever. 40% more flexible than what? You know, than their previous version. That's probably what they're talking about. But that's going to be an experiment once I get those. Once I get that brown acrylic in, we're gonna make some roads. Should be no problem. The rivers now, on the other hand, I'm gonna make them thinner. I'm gonna be able to put the brown acrylic latex down. I could even put white. I could put whatever color I want, but I want it to be pre-colored so that I don't have to go back in and paint it. Right? I'm just trying to save a step. So I'm going to use brown acrylic, and I think I might even coat the entire thing with the white acrylic, right? Because I've got a ton of that. So I'm going to do white acrylic on the river, and then go back on top of that with a brown acrylic bank, right? So I could bank the two sides with the brown, and then put my liquid on the inside, and then again flock the outside. Now the liquid, I'm gonna have to experiment with this. I'm gonna do like one. I wonder if the liquid is flexible. I think the AK liquid is a clear latex, because when I got it in, there had to have been a leak, or because there was acrylic latex all around there was the river material was all around the seam of my container. And as I was peeling it off, it came off flexible. Like it reminded me of Elmer's. It was like very malleable. So I think I'm going to be able to paint the water blue-gray and then go over it with liquid. I'm going to try a couple of them, and then once it's dry, see if it's flexible. I don't want my rivers to be that flexible. That's not what I need. That's not all I need. Is maybe just a little bit of this. And the reason why, and the river is not so much as the roads, because if you make a terrain table, which I am not, I'm making a blanket that lays on top of the table. But underneath the blanket, sometimes I put styrofoam. Doesn't have to be painted, doesn't even have to be flocked or nothing. Just some styrofoam cut out in the shape of the hills that I want. I put it under the blanket, and the blanket provides the ground texture, right? So it'll be under there. Now there's going to be, in Quatre Bras, there's quite a few different hills. Waterloo, there's some hills. I don't know if I want to model all those hills. I don't know if I want to bother with it. I mean, does it really affect the game? Does it affect the battle at all? No, it just gives the feeling that the ground is not even. But if I do, like, do a Roman battle or do an ancients, or maybe a medieval battle, or an American War of Independence battle where there's a big hill or something, if I do make some hills, for which I have a ton of hills already pre-cut from previous editions out in the garage. I've got a shelf of nothing but styrofoam that's all these different hills from all these different battles. If I wind up using those, sticking them under the mat, I want my roads to be able to go over those hills, you know, or the hills and or the, whatever. And then I want the I don't want those hard 12. I made some 12-inch roads that are perfectly rigid and straight, and if I was to set it on a hill, the hill would be like this, and then the road would sit on it like that or whatever. I didn't want that. I don't want that. I can only use those roads on like flat battles or flat tables or around the hills and not over them, stuff like that. So the flexible ones, I think, is the way I want to go. Because then I could lay it on that hill and the road would just lay down and then go flat on the table or whatever. Okay, enough of that. So expect the unexpected. No, expect me to make some flexible roads and rivers as part 2 of my Making Roads and Rivers project. Okay, got that out of the way. Okay, we haven't actually started doing any project. We've only talked about stuff. I'm guzzling. Okay, part of the reason why we're only talking right now is because I took one of these buildings outside and I sprayed them down with a base coat, and I'm trying to let that dry, right? So it probably already is dry because it's been like 40 minutes already, but that's okay. Now, if you're looking at my table and you see these bases over here, these were the bases that I used when I made, or when I experimented with, basically, these were experiment bases, and I put, these are 30 millimeter bases, 30 by 25s actually, and yeah, 30 by 25s, and I experimented putting 15 millimeter miniatures on these bases just to see what they would look like. But I went and I also experimented with different flocks and flock techniques and stuff like that on those bases, because I've been kind of, over the last month or so, I've been really working with flock and different textures and flock colors and stuff like that. Okay, that experiment is over. Here comes the big news. If you guys are not seated, if you're not seated, please sit down, because you're probably going to faint. I've decided, I've made a 100% decision on the scale that I'm going to do my Napoleonics. (15 millimeter). Not 12, not 18, not 10. Not even 13.5. I've decided that I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it my way. My way. Right? I've decided I'm not going to shoehorn myself into any way that I think looks good, or that doesn't make sense. I'm not gonna shoehorn myself into something somebody else thinks looks good. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. There's still a little bit of a decision to be made, and we're going to talk about that here in just a few seconds. But I've decided, after looking around the web, looking around different websites, building manufacturers, terrain, rule sets, miniature manufacturers, flag manufacturers. Yeah, so basically, my struggle was, and I'm going to tell you how I got to this point. I thought when Epic Waterloo from Warlord Games was coming out, I said, that's going to be perfect. That's going to be me. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and do that. But then digging deeper into that project, I saw that nobody else has 13.5 millimeter miniatures. I said, okay, no problem. I can fudge. I can tweak. I can do things. I said, you know what? 15 millimeters not too far off. Let's try a few 15 millimeter miniatures and let's see how they fit on these bases. Well, on a 20 millimeter deep base, there is no way of getting 2 ranks of 15 millimeter miniatures. So I said, okay, let's go the other direction. What do they make? 10 millimeter. Okay, so let's get some 10 millimeters, and those go on 20 millimeter bases. Perfect, right? There's no problem at all. But then I looked around. There's a lot of companies make 10 millimeters. But flags, not so much. Can't get flags. Buildings, you can get a few, specifically these right here, and we're going to show those off. But the units were kind of lacking. There are a bunch of them. There's a lot of them. There's everything I need is in 10 millimeter. But what if I wanted some special Prussian Grenadier unit or whatever? I might be able to find it from one company or another company. Okay, so I said, okay, let's do the 10 millimeter thing. 10 millimeter is okay. So I ordered some 10 millimeter. And I actually ordered quite a bit of 10 millimeter. A lot. I probably have 50 units of 10 millimeter ordered. And so I got some GHQ in. Those figures don't look good. They're too skinny, in my opinion. And they're too small. They're actually smaller than 10 millimeter, I think. They look closer to their 6 millimeter line. Their micro armor. But they're bigger than micro armor, but still they're not thick enough. Okay, so GHQ is out. I got some Old Glory 10 millimeters. They come in strips of 5. I said, okay, that's pretty good, right? Because I'll just put a strip of 5 on a 30 millimeter base and call it quits, right? Put one in front of the other. It'll be fine. But they're kind of small also. And then I got the Magister Militum models, and those are really good looking models. They're really good looking models. So I said, okay, let's do the Magister Militums. And then I thought, okay, Pendragon from everything I've seen out there in the world, I said, okay, Pendragon seems like they're the most popular miniatures. Well, they're popular because they're less expensive. So I said, okay, that's okay. I'm happy with that. Let's order a bunch of these. So I ordered a bunch of Pendragon. That was a mistake. I got my Pendragons in, and I'm very disappointed with them. The casting of the models aren't that good. They're not as good as the Magister models. I felt like the Magister models are probably the best 10 millimeters. But the issue that I have with them is they're tiny. They are small. And I could get 5 on a 30 millimeter base if I trim the bases, because the bases are actually wider than the model is. So I have to trim the bases, and then they would stand close enough that and that whole process of clipping both sides of the bases, clipping 40 models for one battalion was just way too time consuming. Do they look good on the base? Sure. They look good painted? Sure. Okay, so I'm okay. But then I went into the next step of, what about flags? Some flags fit. Some flags don't fit. You have to get 10 millimeter flags. The 15 millimeter flags that I wanted to use won't fit. So I said, okay, let's get some 10 millimeter flags. I ordered some, I think Pendragon has some 15 millimeter flags. So I ordered some, got them in. They're tiny. And they look good. Don't get me wrong, they're good looking flags. But their selection is super small. They only have like a dozen French regiments. They only have like 24 British regiments. And that's it. And if you want any other flags, they got Austrians, they got Russians and all that stuff, but I'm not using those. They don't have any Dutch Belgians. They don't have any Brunswick flags. They don't have any Nassau or anything like that. It was just the British and the French. That made my decision. I said, okay. So if I want to use these 15 millimeter flags, I have to use 15 millimeter models. Someone show up late? Yeah, that's what I thought I heard.
So I don't know what time it was. Same time every week.
She'll know next time. And so I said, okay, so I'm going to have to use 15 millimeter models. But then I thought to myself, okay, 15 millimeters, the epic base size, the 60 millimeter bases. I thought about it. I can shrink it down. Basically, I've come to the conclusion that it's, for me, because of my poor eyesight, my need for a magnifying glass sometimes. The only reason why I pulled that magnifying glass out from my shelf was because I was painting those 10 millimeter models. 15 millimeter models, I don't need a magnifying glass. I can see everything that I need to see. Yeah, so I figured, okay, what about cost? It's about the same cost. It really is. 10 millimeter, I'm getting like twice as many models on a base, but the model cost is half as much. So what that means is it's the same cost, right? Okay, so here's my dilemma. This is where my quandary is. And then I'll go outside and we'll grab this building and we'll put it together and we'll see what it looks like. My quandary is bases, like what base size, how many figures per base, and how do I want to organize my battalions, things like that. And so I've come up with pretty much three choices if you count this way. My ancients, okay, and I've only got one ancient unit complete. I've got a bunch of other ancient models. I just haven't worked on them in years. So I've decided on my ancients to go the DBA, DBM, Field of Glory basing convention. And that's 4 heavies on a 40 millimeter base, right? 40 millimeter base by 15 millimeter depth. Okay, I think as a Roman cohort or whatever, I think that looks good. I think that really looks good. It looks appropriate. Now, I've considered my cohorts being like that, and that would be 2 cohorts, right? So, what is that? 16 models. If I was to go with a 24 miniature model, that's 24 miniatures. That also looks really good. This is what you get when you get a bag of Old Glory Ancients. You get 24 models. So 1 bag, 1 unit, $10. Perfect. That's 6 bases. So if I wanted to use a 2 rank line, you got your 3 base wide. This would be great for Sword Point as well as Hail Caesar, right? Because they're talking about 6 bases. Perfect. Now imagine this being Napoleonics, right? That's pretty much what this is. Okay, you can barely. They're not. It's not flocked or anything, and they're not glued down. They're just sitting on the bases. This is for 40 millimeter frontage, 30 millimeter depth. If I went with 6 bases, okay, now here's the, not the quandary, but here's the philosophy. I am not going to do that. Why? Because that is 28 millimeter philosophy. The whole reason why I went with a smaller miniature was to get away from the 120 millimeter frontage. And then if I went to line, you're looking at the same thing as a 28 millimeter 40 by 40 unit. I like the 40 millimeter frontage. It works with a lot of different games. So I decided, okay, to shrink my to shrink my frontages, we'll go with 4 bases. And that's kind of what the Epic Waterloo suggests anyway. They have 4 bases, but they're 60 millimeters long. So I don't see why I can't go with 4 bases just 40 millimeters wide. So I'm only using 2/3 of the frontage, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, I could accept 2/3. I could accept half. That's what I was thinking about using these 30 millimeter bases, right? Because that's exactly half. And then and I could have went with 30 by 30 squares, which would mean I would be able to get 6 15 millimeter models on there, and it would have this smaller frontage. I don't know if I like the look of that, right? And then I could go with 6 stands to get the full effect of a battalion, and they would only be, you know, the effect of of 6 30 millimeters is still more than 4 40 millimeters. You see what I'm saying? So so I decided, okay, let's go 4 bases, but 40 millimeters. It'll still be smaller. Now so that's a cinch. That's 100%. That's where I'm going. 40 by 30s. 40 by 30 bases for my Napoleonics and my American War of Independence. That's really where I got the idea from, honestly, was the Land of the Free rules. They say 40 by 30s, right? Do 40 by 30s, American War of Independence, and they suggest 6 models on a 40 millimeter base. And each base represents a company or so. Okay. So when looking at my ancients, and I'm seeing, because 2 of these together is 40 by 30, right? It's because of the 15 millimeter depth. This would be 4 bases of, hypothetically, 4 bases of Napoleonics, just like this. These 2 would be same number of figures, same number of basically everything, base size, everything. I think it works very well for my ancients. Now, on ancients, if you go with medium infantry, you're actually going with 3 models on a base, and then 2 of these bases would be 6 models, which is what Land of the Free recommends as their American War of Independence basing. That's exactly what I'm planning on doing with my American War of Independence. We're doing 3 models, 3 frontage, 2 ranks. It should look good. From what I could tell in my looking at the pictures of the Land of the Free bases, it looks like they put the 3 figures closer to the center of the base, leaving the sides with a little bit of gap, so that when 2 bases are side by side, they're distinct 2 different companies, right? They're there's a gap between them. They're not like in this case when I put, because a 15 millimeter model traditionally sits on a 10 millimeter frontage. So 4 and 4, they all look like they are one big unit. Does that look good? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to decide. That's why I went ahead and popped these guys off so that I could put them on a few bases to kind of get an idea. The alternative is to do the exact same thing as my American War of Independence and just put 6 per base. There's a couple of reasons why I want to do that. And I'm going to kind of show you and show me what that might look like. Okay, so I don't know, I don't know if you can really see that, but, and they're not centered. I'm going to try to turn this without the figures falling over, because they're just sitting, they're just balancing on there. Okay, so if they were centered, I mean, I could go in here and like shift them a little bit. I don't want to occupy a whole bunch of time doing this because they're just balancing. But basically, if there was a gap between the figures on the base, see, they're a little bit more spread out. I don't know if you can see that. So basically, they're not standing there in each other's grill. A lot like black powder 28 millimeter bases. You see the 40 millimeter square, but a 28 millimeter model only takes up 20 millimeters, which traditionally is 15 millimeters. So that rule set automatically spreads the models out. And it would look a little bit more like this. I think I really like the close unit like this. I think that has an appeal. I think the look like this has an appeal as well. But now let's talk about numbers of models. This is 24 models. It's 6 times 4, 24. That's half a bag, because when you buy these Napoleonics, and I'm specifically aiming towards Old Glory, you get 50 models. 50 models winds up being 2 units. I think I want to do that. I think I want to base my Napoleonics and my American War of Independence 3 across, 3 frontage, 2 ranks deep. Okay, now here's another thing. In Napoleonics, not so much in American War of Independence, but American War of Independence has specific units that are skirmishers, but the units didn't tend to send skirmishers out, not in the American War of Independence. In Napoleonics, they do. They have this thing called mixed formation, or at least in black powder. They have this thing called mixed formation, where you would take your flank companies and you would deploy them to the front. Okay, so what I'm thinking of doing is using 3 bases to represent the center companies, and then one of the bases representing the flank companies. But instead of mounting them 6 figures to a base and then deploying them as a whole base out front, I was thinking about using the half bases. We'll call them half bases for my Napoleonics. So then I could deploy skirmishers out front like that. A lot like I do with my 28 millimeters. Because my 28s, I take a base or 2 and I split them, and I have 2 figures on a base and put it out front. So my 28s pretty much do the same thing. They get, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I've just answered my own question. That's why I got this out here, was to talk myself through this. What do we got? Reg. Hey, welcome back, Reg, man. Haven't seen you for a week, right? I'm doing naps in 18. Okay, yeah, like what, AB models? AB models are really good detail, but when you start getting, I haven't finished your question there, but when you start getting to the larger models, and I consider 18 to be larger. 18, I did a whole Waterloo collection in 1/72. Can you believe that? 1/72 plastic models. Because you can get the Dutch Belgians, the Netherlands, the Brunswickers. You can get the French, the British, the Prussians. You can get all the cavalry. You can get it all in 1/72. I used Tallery and Aerofix and Hat. And there was another brand, I can't remember what it was called. Tallery, Aerofix, Hat. Oh, Zvezda. Yeah, I made a whole battle in 1/72. Super cheap. Okay, super cheap. Because you get like 50 models. 50 models for like, at the time it was like $6, $7. Something like that. The problem that I had with 72nd was it's too big. And guess what? 1/72 is 20 millimeter. So that's like doing Waterloo in 20 millimeter. I was able to do it, and I made my bases just a little bit smaller. I think they were 30 millimeter bases or something. But I could do the entire thing in Waterloo. I based it on Napoleon's battles. So 24 figures was a brigade. Okay, what do we got here? I'm doing naps in 18, basing my troops on 45 millimeter square bases with a 4-figure frontage and 3 ranks deep. Okay, so 4 figures would be just over, what is that, 12? 11.5, something like that. So 11.5 on a 40, on an 8. That sounds right. And 3 ranks deep. That gives you 15 millimeters per figure in depth. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really cool. Yeah, that sounds good. Are you shooting for a 6 base unit, or are you doing like 4 bases, or how are you doing the bases? I'm curious about that. But I think I'm going to go with 4 bases and just go with it. I'm going to split my flank companies into 2 half bases. So it's going to look a little bit like, I mean, it's not, because I didn't bring any half bases with me. This is too many guys on a base because they're my heavy infantry. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be something like that. And then when you go to deploy skirmishers, you just... Now, I've seen some companies, some games where they they make blank bases. I think it's Sword Point, actually. They make blank bases where you have nothing on these bases. Now, I'm thinking I could make some bases with casualties on them, or dead figures or something like that. Just and then when you deploy, you just fill it in so you still have the ground scale. I mean, I had no problem with that when I did magnets, because the magnet base would still be there, and these guys were magnetized down, and so you just pop them out. I magnetized them so that they would still move around as a single base, but then you could pop them off the magnets and deploy them out front. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to magnetize anything. I don't think it's, at this scale, I don't think it's necessary. I'm putting together, once I made this decision, okay, Reg, what you got? As of now, 4 base unit. Yep. And I'm designing it so they can be used for different rules. Perfect. That's kind of what I'm. Thank you, Reg. Appreciate your response there. I am doing the same thing because, hypothetically, let's say I make my unit like that. I could use it for Magister Militum, or what's it called? Not Magister, that's a minion manufacturer. Et Sans Results. I could use it for that. I could use it for General de Brigade. I could use it for, for whatever. But I'm definitely going with the 40 millimeter frontage, 4 bases, 15 millimeter. I've already got all the flags I need from Fighting 15. They make some awesome Napoleonic flags. I highly recommend them. If you were looking for flags in the 15 millimeter range, look at Fighting 15. You get twice as many flags as you pay for. So I mean, they're just good flags. And that's one reason why I went with 15s, is because of the availability of everything I possibly could want. Plus, I'm going to do my American War of Independence in 15s. I'm going to do my Ancients in 15s, and I'm doing my Napoleonics in 15s. So why don't I do my Medievals in 15s? That's a topic of a future debate. I have right now in my possession 8-ish Perry metal command packages. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 boxes of Perry plastic medievals. But I also have about 5 or 6 bags of Old Glory 15s in medievals. So I could easily paint up and sell the Perrys 28 millimeters on my YouTube, on my eBay store, which probably is what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to order some 15s. I think I'm going to be Mr. 15. I think I'm going to go 15 with everything I do. Except for World War II. World War II, I have played 6 millimeter micro armor, which I've got a ton of that still. And that's great for doing large scale battles like Battle of the Bulge, or various major engagements, using like Spearhead or Battlefront. Mainly, let me back that up, like Spearhead or Command Decision or whatever. The 6 millimeter is great. Battlefront was pretty much good for 15s, along with like Flames of War, but I don't personally like Flames of War that much. It reminded it made me think of Warhammer, and I'm not so much a Warhammer fan anymore. But it's okay. Um, but I really enjoy, and I even played a bunch of different rule sets that involve individual men taking buildings, fighting around corners. You know, you got a line of your squad is behind a wall, shooting over a wall or something like that. I really like the tactical element of World War II, maneuvering, putting your machine gun here, your mortar rounds are actually landing on guys and not, you know, a barrage area or whatever. So in World War II, I really like the man-to-man skirmish. But when it comes to that, but I also like the large-scale uh, big battles of World War II as well. So 15s just didn't work very well for World War II for me. But everything else, when it comes to massed units on bases, I think I like 15s best. Okay, now that we got that out of the way. And these are all those 15s that I did on that experiment. This is 2 bags of so that's 100 models probably of British flankers, and let me go get this model and bring it in, and we'll take a look at it.
You going to check the mail?
Nope, but I can. But no,
Oh, okay. I was going out to do that, but.
I was coming out to get them.
Oh. It's cold.
Yes, I would have to say it is freezing outside. I agree with it. Okay, before we get started on this, I want to show you something I worked on yesterday when the weather was like in the 70s. Can you believe that? I'm in Tennessee. The weather was like in the 70s in the middle of December. Okay. Let's move this camera a little bit so you can see my little blanket here. Okay, so ooh, I can smell it. No wonder, I can still smell it. Okay, so this is my table covering. I bought, and I have the other one over there, which is the OD green one. It's, well, let me rephrase that. It's olive. It's not OD. It's not drab. It's just olive. Oh, looks like we got some mail.
People throwing trash on the street. I don't know why they can't go take it home and use their own trash bin. That is.
I don't know what that is. Acrylic late. Okay. Clear? Okay, so I got this one as well. If the water, this is the second half of my rivers. If the water from AK winds up not being flexible, I know that I can do water using the clear acrylic latex. Strong adhesion and flexibility. Resists cracking. Yeah. Okay, I thought this was a brown one. but I guess I got clear first. No big deal. Okay, so back to the blanket, right? I got this olive one over. Okay, I got this one in first, which was a lime green. I thought on the website when I was looking at it, I thought it would look really good, but when I got it in, I felt like it was really too light. It didn't have the same like tone that the like an olive drab would have, right? It's lime, and I didn't know, so I was like, okay, lime, I'll get over it. And so I ordered an olive one, and when I got it's also bright. It's not drab. It's olive. It's not olive drab. So that's another mistake. So I got 2 blankets, both a mistake. Okay, when I got this one in, I really liked the fuzziness of the grass, right? This, to me, this is grass, this is fields, this is a terrain, right? And you can see this color is a little bit different than this. Okay, so I took this outside yesterday and I laid it out on my grass lawn, and I took 4 different colors. I took all the Krylon camouflage colors, basically the khaki, the olive, the deep forest green, and then I took a 4th color out of my library called summer wheat, and I sprayed the entire thing in random, just just all over the place. But I wanted to get 100% coverage, but I also did it for 2 reasons. Tone, like the color, but I also wanted to subdue the glossiness, because you can kind of see how glossy this is. The other side was a little glossy as well. Not as bad, because the fuzz prevented it from being glossy, but let's kind of turn this inside out, and that's summer wheat, and the really dark areas, that would be the deep forest green, and then we've got olive green, and we've got all different colors. But I've noticed that because I didn't put it on heavy, I didn't go, I basically just kind of misted the entire thing. I still have the fuzz. Yeah, it's still very fuzzy. It turned out very well. Let's see how durable it winds up being. But what do you think? Do you like the tone? You like the color? I don't know. On the table, I think it's going to look really good. I'm happy with that. I don't see a problem with that. I think that's going to look really good. I'm excited about that. Okay, this was $4.50 a yard. I got 3 yards, so like $15 table color. And then I had to spray paint it, so it's probably another couple bucks, but awesome. Stop looking at my crotch. Okay. Okay, so now that I've decided that I'm, and this is another thing I've been struggling with. Now that I've decided that this New Year's resolution, right? New Year's, new projects, new philosophies, new mindsets, right? So now that I'm changing my whole collection pretty much from 28 millimeter, taking a 90-degree turn and going 15 millimeter, I might have already, I can tell you I already made a mistake. I put quite a big order in for 10 millimeter products. I've got like from 5 different companies, different 10 millimeter, like about $100 per company of sample packs. Basically, I ordered a selection just randomly, trying not to overlap too much depending on which ones worked really well or which ones didn't, of 10 millimeter models. So now I've got this 10 millimeter model. I think what I'm going to do is box them up and shelf them for future projects, maybe just paint them up and sell them or something like that. So hopefully they'll be okay. But they're not a priority right now. My 15s are a priority. But more buts, right? Who doesn't like more buts? I ordered a bunch of 10 millimeter buildings for my 10 millimeter projects that I thought I was going to need. I might have jumped the gun a little bit, but then I thought to myself, Mr. Everything, did you really jump the gun, or did you psychically know that you needed 10 millimeter models? I knew. I already knew. 15 millimeter models, right? Both my American War of Independence and my Napoleonics are going to be on these bases. I thought they were going to be on those bases. I cut out some town sectors for my 10 millimeter project based on these buildings going on a base and being able to fit 4 of these bases on the town sector. Uh-oh. I ordered some 15 millimeter Sarissa American War of Independence buildings because I knew I was going to do my American War of Independence in 15. I already knew that. But that 15 millimeter building is going to be just a little bit bigger than these, right? And if those buildings are bigger than these buildings, and if I tried putting them on my 3x4 town sector bases, I would not be able to fit any of these bases on that town sector. So I pretty much came to the conclusion that I'm going to have to grow my town sector. And I said, okay, I'm going to have to do the same for my Napoleon's battles. My Napoleonics, I keep saying Napoleon's battles. But I don't want them to be too big. Because you've seen my videos where I showed Hougoumont and La Haye Saint and how much ground scale they actually take up, which is only a couple of inches of ground scale, and my town sectors are going to be they have to be much bigger to get the figures in them. Well, if I just used a building and just put it on the table and then put figures around the building, just like Black Powder recommends, then that won't be a problem. But that's not the way I like to do things. I like to have my little vignette of a building with enough space around the building that I can put models inside little fences, courtyards, inside walls or hedges or whatever. That's what I want. So I'm going to have to grow my town sector. I'm thinking 6x6 maybe. 4x6 it would be tight. 4x5 it'll be tight. But a 6x6 would be good. That's probably the direction I'm going to go. I'll figure it out. once I get my 15 millimeter models in, and I kind of the buildings that is, and see what kind of footprint they have, and then build my town sectors around them. But in the 10 millimeter world, I thought about this. I thought, okay, 10 millimeter. I think I'm going to stick with 10 millimeter for my 15 millimeter Napoleonics. Okay, these are coming out pretty easily. That's good. I'm just popping these right out. And why is that? Well, less of a footprint. I know that there's a philosophy that goes both ways, saying, you know, stick with the same scale as the troop because it'll look better. But then others say use a smaller building because of the footprint. And it's more true to scale, to the ground scale, and not the figure scale. So those all popped out pretty easily. And that's this building right here. It comes like this. You get your paper shutters and stonework around the building, or woodwork, I should say, around the building. Then you get your roof. If you look at the roof, it actually is textured, so there's actually maybe some shingles there. And then you get these guys. And so what I did was I sprayed it because I wanted my building to be white, and then I wanted the wood to be a darker color. Okay, I don't want to tear it because this is paper. It's cardboard, thin cardboard. So I might look to see where the paper is connected. Knock those out. This one's going to be a little bit more complicated because of the doorway. All right. Now, I don't get any instructions. So I have to pretty much figure this out on my own. That looks like it's going to go there. This looks like it's going to go there. Now, I thought about painting the inside of the building black. I know Sarissa recommends doing that, but I thought to myself, no, because I want the inside to be wood. So I just left it wood. I'm fitting everything before I apply any glue or make any commitments. Now I picked out the biggest building floor based on, what am I trying to say? So, that should be the back wall. Well, maybe not. Is this the inside wall? I guess it is. Because of the door and all that stuff, trying to figure out where everything matches up. Okay, so far so good. Okay, there's some stone texture. Ah, okay. I got you. It's like, why is there stone texture? And that probably just glues stands directly against the wall. Yeah, there's a little bit of stone texture on the top because you would see it on the back side. And then this roof okay. And I plan to paint all that kind of a gray color anyway. I probably could do it now for brickwork and stuff, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use Gorilla Clear Grip on this. I'm not using a whole lot. Okay, we're going to put this together first. You can see I didn't use hardly any. Okay, I'm pushing it down on the ground so that it will go flat. Let's disassemble this while that's drying. Only takes a few seconds to dry, honestly. Oh, when I put these walls up, I didn't think of this. The inside exposed wall is going to be brown wood. That's all right. Little brush paint will fix that. Same thing with the like the brickwork on the bottom of the bottom of these. They have like brickwork along the bottom there. Nothing wrong with brown bricks, but that's not the way I wanted to do it. Okay. So okay, he's in. Let's put the door on the bottom. That would be smart. Let's trim off anything that looks like it's sticking out. Okay. I don't know if you can tell how much glue I'm putting on, but it's almost non-existent. I don't think I need a bunch for this model to be held together pretty sturdy. So far, so good. Let's put this bad boy on. Okay. Okay, let's put the other side on. And then because it is going to be matching up with a couple of different walls, okay, so that's the main frame. This is like the, I think it's labeled as like the blacksmith or something like that. A forge, maybe it's the forge. And then this is going to be folded down. Okay, so far so good. So far, so good. Okay. Now this is going to sit. So the roof will have to go on based on where that chimney is. Trying to center it a little bit. Okay. Okay, a little bit on the bottom. And just a little bit on the back. I'm eyeballing the center. I think that looks really good. Apply some pressure. So far so good. What do you think? I like it so far. Okay. Now this big bad boy will go on here, and one thing I like about it is it covers up the part where you can see the connections in the corners. Okay. Now this, I think I'm going to do with white glue, I think. What? He's putting it on his finger. Yeah, this is my Mark 1 glue applicator. When it comes to the cardboard on any of my Sarissa buildings, I use my Mark 1 glue applicator. This is not a Sarissa building, but it reminds me of Sarissa. Whoops, that was not good. when this glue dries, as well as the other glues, it dries clear, so you won't get any of that glue residue look. Okay, I think all of that's pretty good. Let's line the door up, the windows up, the side walls, the top. Let's push it in. Okay, so this paper actually goes over the edge. It's wider than the wood. So I think I need to center it up. Maybe I should have done the sides first. Okay, not too hard. That's centered up pretty good. Okay, so there's a little overlap here, and there's a little overlap there. I think that's to cover up the edges of the sides. I hope. Okay, these two look identical, so I don't think it matters which side I put them on. There's a lot of little bitty strips of paper in there. Be very careful not to break it. I'm trying to be very careful not to break it. Let me rephrase that. Okay, I'm pushing it all the way up to the edge of the other paper. And it looks good. Also trying to line up the top of the roof. That would not be smart to not line that up. Okay, on this side, it only disguises the seams. The front covers the seam, but the sides only disguise it. That's okay. That's all right. All right, now final countdown. No, it's the final side, since there's only two of them. And when I do this, I try to make sure these little bitty pieces of wood get some glue on them, so that they would be also firmly attached and not break off in gameplay or whatever. Okay, so I think I'm going to stick with some 10mm models for my I know these kind of look medievals to me. If I do my they're a little bit more than medievals. I don't know what you would maybe they are medievals, I don't know. Oh, that went on perfect. Get applying a little bit of the wood pressure. Okay, so far, what do we think? Just the casual look. I really like the The fact that I sprayed it white first and then sprayed, this is like a red, it's called a flat red primer or something like that, and it's really brown in my opinion. It's like a red brown. I like it. Now this back needs some work, but we can do that in a future video. And then that's going to glue on the top just like that. I like it. Am I going to be able to get in there and paint that with this roof glued on? Maybe not. I'm going to leave this. I'm not going to glue this down until I get done painting the bricks there. But yeah, just like that on the table that'd be fine. Okay. So imagine this on the table, right? But I've got my Napoleonic figures in the town sector with it, right? I think that's going to be okay. That's what I was thinking. I'm thinking 10mm buildings. Maybe not, but I'm thinking 10mm buildings for my 15mm Napoleonics. When I get my 15mm Sarissa buildings in, I'm gonna put a couple of those together, compare them to my 15mm Napoleonics and American War of Independence, and see if. Oh wait, what do we got? Greetings from Russia. All right, hey, welcome, man. You know, we accept all walks of life here. You know, no judgment. Russia. There's a lot of war gamers in Russia, from my understanding. There's a lot of you guys. There's I don't know what you guys like to play though. Are you doing the Napoleonics? Are you doing the World War II? Are you doing the Romans, Carthaginians? You know, what are you doing? You know, but yeah, that looks good. That looks just a European forge. I think it's kind of designed for a fantasy game, but I'm not going to play any fantasy games in 10 or 15mm. That's not me. If I do fantasy, it's 28 or nothing. Because I would consider a fantasy game to be skirmish. I know there are games out there like Kings of War and stuff like that that do mass units, which I have nothing against that. It's just not my kind of game. Yeah, easy peasy. All right, now let's go ahead and use the. Oh, it's already 1 o'clock. Wow. Okay, so you guys don't have to sit through and watch me put together this perpetual calendar. Roker series, turn the knob. I don't see anything to turn. I can see in there, but I can't turn anything. 26 pieces, gears, parts list, wooden gasket, 10mm stick, 38mm stick, 70mm stick, 2 pre-cut wood sheets. Robotime Technologies. I think I'm going to do a bespoke video where I just construct this on camera. Yeah, I think that's what I do. Okay, so what did we talk about today? Well, we talked about magnet sheets being used for flexible roads and rivers. I got the clear silicone just in case the river material from AK is not flexible enough. Talked about, okay, that just fell on the floor. We talked about our blanket for the table. We talked about shifting my scale preference to 15 millimeter for mass combats. I'm sticking 28 millimeter for World War II skirmish and probably 6 millimeter for mass battles. Yeah. So let me end the video on this, or end the stream on this. Old Glory. I know I sound like a shill, right? Because I talk about Old Glory all the time. Old Glory has a sale where you can get up to 50% off depending on your order size. If I knew, this is my bad, if I knew I was going to go 15 millimeter Napoleonics instead of 10 millimeter Napoleonics, I would have included my Napoleonic order with my American War of Independence and Ancients order. If I knew I was going 15 millimeter with my 100 Years War, I would have included them with my order, and that way I could have built it up so I got 50% off of everything. But like an idiot, I was thinking I'm only going to do 15 millimeter on my Ancients and my American War of Independence, so I ordered an Ancient and American War of Independence order, and I think I'm still going to put a Napoleonic order and a 100 Years War order in, but I don't think I'm going to get it up to 50%. I think it'll be 45% off, because if you put an order in over 400, you get 45% off for the Christmas. But even so, even after Christmas, if you get an order over 400, you still get 40% off. That's not bad. That's crazy good. So I did a cost analysis, and I'm gonna show you on the screen. Let me see if I can do that for you. Here, let's move this over there so it's out of the way. Is this my cost analysis? No. Where did I put it? Okay, I didn't put it on those. Maybe I put it on my Waterloo project. Well, that would check out, because I'm switching to 15 millimeter Waterloo. Okay, so here let's go to center display. Boom, there it is. Okay, so on this right here is my Quatre Bras project, which is going to start me into the Waterloo, right? I'm going to do Quatre Bras first, and then we're going to do Waterloo. If it's in gray, I already have those miniatures, right? If it's in red or blue, I've already finished assembling and painting those, and they're ready to go. I did the Limbers a month or so ago because I wanted to test out some different flocks, but hey, they're already done. They're ready to go. Okay, here's the cost now, and these are figures that I have in my possession already. Actually, I have 100 more. I totally forgot about these miniatures that I've got on the table right here, but I got 100 more flank guys. Now, some of these guys are minifigs, because I ordered some minifigs 15s to see how they compared to my 10 mil. They're actually, okay, hang on, let me mute this just for a second. They're actually about 13.5 millimeters. They would work really well with the Warlord Epic. When I get the Warlord Epic in, I will compare them to my 15 millimeter minifig so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to use them for my 15 mil project. So I'm going to keep them for my 15 mil, even though they are a little bit smaller than my Old Glories. So we take a look here, cost-wise. And this is all in US dollars, even though some of this, like minifigs, you order by the pound, but, you know, British pounds. But I just did a conversion to US dollars. So when you order minifigs, you get 8 figures in a pack, which that's really cool if you're planning. Basically, you get a company in a bag. That's really good if, like, I only need a company, right? I don't need a whole battalion. I only need like 2 bases worth, or whatever you need, right? So you can go to minifigs and you get a small quantity, and that small quantity winds up being $5.50. Okay, so that's pretty good. Then when you look at Old Glory, when you buy a bag, you get somewhere near 48 models. Now, 48 models, I think was like $17, because they have these things called, not starter sets, they call them regimental or battalion bags, regimental bags, brigade bags, something like that. So you get actually 48 models for like $17. But if you order enough, you can get a discount, like 40%, right? And that's where I got this number. This is with the discount. So it's $8.40 a bag. Because if I order from Old Glory, I'm gonna order enough to get a discount. Right? I think you get a pretty good discount even if you order. Okay, here we are. Old Glory 15s. I'm going to go to their homepage. There's their Christmas sale right there. Yeah. This is a normal discount right here. So if you order over $100, which you always will, use this code and get 20% off. So you're always going to get at least 20% off, most likely. And then if you order over 400, you're going to get a 40% off, which I think is pretty good. I think that's excellent, actually. And they just released some tents, too, if you're interested in that. But for Christmas, you know, I'm going to order probably somewhere in this neighborhood. So I'm looking at it like a 40%, 45% off. But I think I based everything on a 40% because I might not order it right away. I don't know. Okay, so that's where this $8.40 for 48 models. If I was to look at this, now I have a per, right? So that's per model. What do we got over here? Mini War Mutt. The building looks great. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Yeah, that's battle. That's war bases. War bases in the UK. They not only sell bases, but they sell a variety of different buildings from different scales. And they actually have 10 millimeter models. I just received my first batch of 15s too. Oh, okay, cool. What? Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, what genre are you talking? Napoleonics, ancients, American War? What? Yeah, what miniatures, and who'd you get them from? But okay, so per figure, which to me it's important, but it's not that important because let's just say I needed a very small unit of like avant-garde or something. Am I going to order a bag of 48 when I could get 8 for $5.50? I don't know, because these guys are 69 cents each, where these guys are 18 cents each. That's too huge. And the difference between 8.40 and 5.50 is not big enough for me not to just go ahead and go with Old Glory. Even if I just ordered a bag of, okay, hold on. Let me show you this. Not the battle groups. That's for ancients. Old Glory. Napoleonic Wars. Right here. Starter sets. That's what they're calling them. No, it's not starter sets. What is it? Oh, 18. Okay, here we go. 1815. Let's talk French. Brigade and regimental packs. There we go. That's where I was getting the great coats. Here we go. Oh, these are $21. Okay, but that's a lot more miniatures, right? That's 30, 48. That's 48 for 21. How did I get $8.50? Maybe I was looking at the British. Oh no. Brigade and regimental packs. I'm in French still. Okay, let's get out of that. British, where you at? There you are. Brigade and regimental packs. Infantry. Yeah, see, okay, so it varies. It's different for French and British. Ooh. Because my British, you see, you get your elites, you get your line infantry, you get your sergeant, standard bearers, drummers, officer. So for $17, you're getting a whole battalion. You know, maybe a little more, actually. But if I just went with infantry straight up, center company, approximately 50 models for 21. And then if I go with my flank companies, you see they're half the price. They're only $10. And I get 25 of them. Okay, let's do some math real quick. Sorry, got to do some math. So 50 dudes. Nope. $21 divided by 50 dudes is normally 42 cents a dude. But I'm going to get at least 40% off. So it's 17 cents a dude. Okay, I put 18 cents. Okay, so it basically comes out to the same. Whether you get the $17 one or you get the $21 one, because you're getting 48 versus 50, so, you know, it just depends on how you want to look at it. So either way, if it's 18 cents, that's still way better than 69 cents. What is that, about 4 times? You're getting 4 times the miniatures. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Even if I needed to just order a bag of avant-garde, I would go with the 48. If I had a few extra models, that's okay. I can use them for other projects or something like that. All right, Minnie. Modern Russian snow soldiers, hillbillies, deer rifles. Old Glory has some great minis. These are from the Curacao Miniatures in Pennsylvania. Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely open for looking around at different manufacturers and different models. I'm really okay with that. It's just that I can't find better value. When I say value, I look at these 15mm Napoleonic figures, and they're extremely detailed. I'm okay with that 15mm. When I looked at my 10mm Magister Militums, I was like, okay, I'm sacrificing detail for size. They're a little bit smaller. I can live with it. But then there was too many other things that were working against me. 10mm is just not my thing. I realize now it's just not my thing. Okay, so I got a bunch of minifigs already in because I wanted to compare them to the epics when they come out. But I'm going to be using them in my Waterloo project. And then this over here is just trying to figure out how many figures I'm going to use per base. And as you know, I'm going to do 6 figures per base. I'm doing 4 bases per unit. So that winds up being about 24 figures per unit, except for my guard, obviously. So basically, technically, for $8.40, I'm getting 2 battalions. Yeah, that's great. That's incredible. Yeah, so that was my and same thing with Cav. I think Cav. Notice on minifig they were all 550. It's just what you get in a pack is different based on what you're ordering. So like regular Cav you get 4, but the Cav Command you only get the 3. And so this worked out to be very odd because if I buy 2 packs of Cav, that's 8, and then I add the 3 Command, that's only 11. I need 12, or I want 12. But with 4 bases, I don't know if I'm going to be able to put 3 Cavs on a model, on a base, which I think I am, and that'll get me 12. Or if I'm going to put 2 Cav per base, then I only need 8. So even if I got one of these and one of those, that's still 7. So minifigs are just out. Unless you just need a small quantity of figures. But even then, I don't think I'm going to do the minifigs. So I'm sticking with Old Glory. And just trying to figure it out. Okay, another thing. If I have 4 bases, you can't see this. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. There we go. Just hypothetically, if this was the 4 bases of a standard unit, I could drop in, that's only 1 base. I could drop in 2 more bases, and then that would be, in my opinion, that would be considered a large unit, like my guard. These guards there, right? I said I would throw in these extra bases right there, right? So that would be my large unit. Now, a small unit would be take 2 of these bases off. And so now I've got a 2-base battalion that is small, right? So they could be in line, they could be in column, we can whatever. And then a tiny unit, like purely skirmisher, I would take those out and just put them on 2 half bases. So tiny, only in skirmish. Small, medium, and large. That's what I'm going to do it. I've already figured all that out. All right, guys. I'm going to do Cav in 12 figures. I'm going to do infantry in 24 figures. And I'm going to start cranking these out. ASAP, right? Okay, what do we got here? Battle Valor is another place for 15 fantasy. Coruscant. Okay, I'm gonna have to look up Coruscant. Let's take a look real quick. Coruscant Miniatures. They have a website. Welcome to Coruscant Miniatures. EU, UK, click here before ordering. It's probably, okay, 15mm historical range. Okay, ooh, look at this. That's Trajan Romans, not doing them. Unless otherwise specified, because that says 28mm, so. Feudal Middle Ages, early Swiss. Oh, Swiss is good. Here we go, 100 Years War. All right. Oh, not a big selection. Okay, $2.99. Good price. For what? 6 models. 8 models of Men at Arms for $3.99. Okay. That looks like 2 photos spliced together. Okay. They probably mounted them on 20mm discs. They look good. That'll give me a variety. Don't like that. I don't like that. Yeah, I might explore them a little bit. Whoops. Okay, I'm closing all my websites. There we go. And my calculator. There we go. Yeah, I'll look at them. I'll see what they've got. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go with resin buildings. Resin plastic, maybe. I ordered some from Battle Scale, but they're 10mm, and yeah, I think I'm gonna go with 10mm buildings but I think that's the direction I'm gonna go. I want smaller buildings to allow smaller town sectors, so that when I put my figures in there, and this is a 10mm building, and those are 15mm models. I think they work out okay. It's not too big of a disparity, so we'll have to see. And since these are all flank company guys, I think I'm going to mount them on the 40 by 15 skirmisher bases, and just have them ready for when I get ready to start painting my regiments. I did paint them in different facing colors in anticipation of that already, so that's already painted that way. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming out and watching this Wednesday. Stay tuned to my channel. You'll see other videos as I post them. I hope you all have a great holiday. Oh, looking at my calendar. I should be able to have a video on the 29th. We should be able to do another stream on the 29th. That should not be a problem. There will not be a D&D or a Traveler game this Thursday night. Don't come looking for that. I'm too far behind on my commissions. I'm taking this extra time to kind of get caught up. And finally, if you're interested in me painting anything for you on commission, contact me. Drop me a message in YouTube, and then we can exchange details and we can figure it out. But if you contact me on my eBay store, I am obligated to keep the transaction on eBay. It's only fair. If I'm using their platform to contact customers, I should be using their platform. They should get a commission. They should get part of that commission. But if you're contacting me outside of that platform, then they don't have any claim to any of the commission. But these commissions that I'm doing now, they've been contacting me on eBay, and I'm doing some 28mm Napoleonics and some 28mm World War II. I've got a lot. This one customer must really like my work, because he's provided me with probably 2 months worth of commission work. But he's also given me an opportunity. He's very nice in the maybe not nice. He's understanding. He's like, do a little bit at a time. Well, for one thing, this helps him by not, because he pays when it's finished. Like, I will do some models and then I will bill him, and then when he pays, then I will send him his models. If I did it all, he would owe me a ton of money. So by doing a little bit at a time, he only has to pay a little bit at a time, right? So that's our plan. And so he's basically given me an opportunity to break it up into bite-sized chunks. And I appreciate that, because I don't want to be too overwhelmed with having to paint the same model 100 times. What do we got here? Oh, you're in Arizona? Okay, cool. So that's definitely cool. And that's another reason why I usually stop around 1 o'clock, was because I eat lunch as well. And you don't want to see me eating lunch here on the camera. And plus, right, okay, so final recap. Sorry. I always like to do a recap at the end. We talked about these buildings. I'm going to do some more videos on me constructing these videos and doing a review of these videos. I'm going to do a review of these buildings. So far, I like that one building I put together. Going to do my updates. I'm going to do my ancients, my American War of Independence, and Napoleonic updates. And I might even do a medieval update, because I think I've made a decision to switch to 15mm even for my ancients. So basically everything's going to be 15mm. Base sizes, got that worked out. Number of figures, got it worked out. How many figures per base on the ancients versus the American War of Independence versus the Napoleonics, all of that's worked out. Okay, and then we're going to be doing some flexible roads and rivers. Got that coming up. I'm going to show you my blankets as a I don't know if they're going to be part of my updates, or if that's just going to be a, hey, look at this, you could do this. What else did we talk about? I think that's it. All right, if we talked about